For the past 2 weeks, there has been a lot of discussion and debate on social media, primarily led by the non-Catholics, criticizing Pope Francis' recent pronouncement, allowing priests to bless the same-sex couples. According to those who disagree, same-sex couples do not deserve to receive blessing and prayer, for they are living in sin, and as a result, they can be considered as outsiders of God's family, outsiders of God's kingdom. And blessing them would be seen as condoning their sinful lifestyle, which is perceived to be or believed to be a flagrant violation of God's law against same-sex unions. We often draw lines between ourselves and other people. Here we are, there they are. Here we belong, there you belong. This invisible or unseen line determines who is an insider and who is an outsider. The insiders are protected and often do not concern themselves with outsiders. This line, these barriers, this wall is often defined by various criteria, and religion is one of them, raising questions about who will be saved and who will be condemned, who is holy and who is not holy. Same-sex couples are considered outsiders in our faith. They do not belong to us and are seen as undeserving of God's grace because they are living outside the grace of God. And so they do not deserve to receive blessing through prayers from priests. The Jewish people also did this, not only drawing a line between themselves and other nations or between the Israelites and the Gentiles, but erecting invisible wall. Firstly, they aim to maintain a pure race, believing that salvation existed exclusively within the Jewish race. They even prohibited intermarriage between the Jews and the Gentiles or the non-Jews, viewing this as a means to remain clean and safe from the impurities of the pagans. But God had a different plan. When God sent His Son Jesus into the world, He ordained that Jesus would be the Savior of all people. And this is the essence, this is the meaning of today's celebration, the Epiphany Sunday. That Epiphany reminds us that although Jesus was born a Jew, He revealed Himself even to the non-Jews, to the Gentiles, represented by the Magi, the wise men, or the kings in today's gospel. That Jesus is the Savior not only for a particular nation, He is not a Savior exclusively for a particular race or group of people, but for all. That everyone can know God, everyone can attain salvation. By doing this, Jesus began to tear down the wall that the Jews had built. Through His open and inclusive way of life, Jesus repeatedly attended to foreigners, to the non-Jews, and those considered outsiders, and granted their request. This is evident in the healing, for instance, of the Roman soldier servant, the gratitude expressed by foreigners, such as the healed leper who came back to give thanks, and the use of a Samaritan as an example of extending help, extending aid. Secondly, the Jews also created an invisible boundary, invisible wall, invisible line between the righteous and the unrighteous, between the holy and the unholy, between the good and the bad. And the righteous, the holy, and the good were prohibited from interacting, associating with the unrighteous, the unholy, and the bad. That is why the Jewish religious leaders hatedly criticized Jesus for associating, dining with, and befriending those they considered sinners in their society, such as the tax collectors. However, Jesus said that he came not for the righteous, but for the sinners, emphasizing that he hated sin, but he loved the sinners. He reached out even those publicly known sinners like Matthew and Zacchaeus, who were both tax collectors. Therefore, if Jesus were living in our time, he would surely bless, he would surely pray for those in same-sex relationships. We have to make it clear, however, that first, marriage remains exclusive between a man and a woman. Second, same-sex union remain contrary to the will of God. And third, blessing same-sex couple is based on the principle, hate the sin, but love the sinners. And fourth, the primary purpose, the primary aim of blessing couples in a regular situation is conversion. Blessing a same-sex couple does not signify approval of their actions. Rather, it expresses the hope that they may learn and choose to make positive changes in life. Those who oppose the Holy Father's permission to bless same-sex couples should also remember that they might be nailing Jesus to the cross again. The temptation to build a wall, to claim God and His goodness for ourselves still exists. But the choice is ours. Will we confine God's goodness within our small world? Will we rebuild the wall that the Jews first erected? Or will we continue to tear down the barrier that separates us from our fellow human beings, just as Jesus did?